A hot market can still leave you with a cold inbox. I've had many speakers come up to me before now and say that they want to speak in the hot area. They'll speak on anything and go wherever the money is. And it's really a terrible idea. You'd always have to be changing your topic and re-establishing yourself in new areas. But also, it really isn't going to be the thing that gets you booked. I've been promising for a while that I was going to bring you some new coaching sessions. And this session was with Cortney Harding, who speaks in the AI sector. Now, she is undoubtedly an expert in what she does. She has great proficiency. She's been speaking, but the calendar's not really reflecting how good she is and how much she can help people. And we wanted to try and get to the bottom of why. Now, I think we started to dig into some of the key elements here in this recording, and you'll get some of that too. What you might also get here is that it's easy to become too technical about what you're doing and think that every input should equal an output for you. And that's not always the case. So you're going to hear us diagnose why credibility signals don't create demand, how to position around the expensive problem that you solve, the outreach simplification that beats post and then pray, and what to prioritize when you're feeling permanently stuck in launch mode, throwing all the spaghetti against the wall. At the end of the episode, you'll get to walk away with a clearer message and a simpler plan to get booked, even when you're not the most famous name in the space. And if you'd like to be coached on the show for free, you can find out how at the end of the episode. Welcome to Professional Speaking, the show for speakers who want to master their craft, book more gigs, and are ready to treat speaking like a business. Well, it's very nice to have Cortney Harding with me today. And Cortney, we are going to have a bit of a coaching session. You are a speaker right now, and you're speaking in the AI space. Can you just give a little clarity about what your speaking looks like and maybe what your goal is as a speaker as well?
Yeah, so I'm in the AI space, but I'm also in other emerging technology spaces. And that's one thing that really sets me apart from other speakers is the fact that I have a deep background in virtual reality, augmented reality, and now the smart glasses space. So while I focus on AI, because I think AI is A, it's a hot topic, and B, it's a topic that touches all these other technologies, my real focus and differentiator is my deep background in the spatial computing and immersive space.
Okay.
And I'm really focused this year on building my speaking practice, building a consulting practice, and building it to be more of a revenue stream as opposed to what it has been in the past for me, which is more of a biz dev stream or a side project, which has been a lot of fun. But I really want to shift that to something where it's actually incoming as opposed to kind of theoretical revenue.
Okay. So let's just get a ballpark at least of what success as a speaker would look like for you at the moment. Like, what sort of fee bracket would you like to be in? How many gigs would you like to be doing on a monthly basis?
So I think a good fee bracket for me right now would be between 10 and 15K. Obviously, I'd like to get that higher at some point, but I think given the market right now, I think that's a fairly reasonable fee. And I've done some research into that. And 2 to 3 gigs a month, I think would be reasonable. I offer everything from your basic in and out keynote to much larger initiatives. So a lot of what I've done in the past has been workshops and consulting. So figuring out how to use the keynote as the jumping off point. And then from there, building in larger engagements where I'm actually embedded with a company, embedded with a client, helping them solve real problems and helping them build things.
Right. And so the journey to this so far has not been going quite as planned. So what do you feel isn't working for you? What's the challenge for you right now?
So I think the challenge right now is the sort of last mile challenge, which is I have a lot of content. I have a really strong network. I have a really strong background. I have the names and the awards and the accolades and the this, that, and the other. But what I have not managed to successfully is create a flywheel of opportunities. So I'm getting towards that. I think now the last couple talks I've done have led to other talks and other opportunities, which is great. But the flywheel is not perhaps advancing as fast as I would like it to.
Okay. So I have had an opportunity to look through some of your material and through the website and what you talk about, and we have spoken before as well. So for the audience benefit, I guess to some degree as well, what would you brand yourself as? Like you say, you're in the AI space. What's your branding within that space? Why would people come to you specifically for speaking?
So one thing that I'm doing right now is actually, while I am working with AI, I'm kind of changing that a little bit because I think in this last year, I realized the AI space is incredibly crowded. And there's a lot of people who are kind of the same thing. And it's a space that is, I think, harder for me to compete in, even though I do have deep background in that space. So I'm pivoting a little bit to focus more on spatial computing, smart glasses, and AI within that. And I think that's where I see the strong brand for myself. And the differentiating factor is you can book people all day long to talk just about AI and then specific things within AI. But the idea of somebody who's talking about AI and spatial computing and smart glasses, the research that I've done, I haven't seen as many of those people. And many of the people that you talk about that are affiliated with large companies. So there's a bias there, right? There's always going to be, if you're speaking on behalf of Meta, you are the Meta party line or HSE, fill in the blank company. Whereas if you are an independent person like myself, a consultant, then you can give something that is unbiased and a little bit broader. So that's the pivot that I'm doing right now. I am updating all of my content to reflect that right now, because I do think last year, one thing that held me back is the branding was a little confused. Well, again, I have great case studies and I have great talks. They might not have been as differentiated as they perhaps could have or should have been.
Yeah. One thing that I would still want to dig into a little more deeply here is what are the real benefits for your audiences, for your clients when they book you? Like, what problems are you solving for them with your talks?
Sure. So the main problem is many clients do not understand the framework that I have when it comes to technology. So my belief is that technology should always be the last thing you consider, not the first thing you consider. And I've done a lot of podcasts recently where I've spoken about this, and it's a big core function of my book as well. So the problem that I'm solving and the differentiator with what I'm talking about is I'm offering a solution-oriented framework for clients and for people that are in the talk. So a lot of companies right now are focusing on technology first when they should be focusing on problem solving first. And this is something that I have a lot of experience with, helping clients understand this. So the model that I have is really put the technology aside for a second, understand what is the problem that you are trying to solve, then understand why it's a problem. And I think a lot of companies skip this step and then go to, okay, how can we use this technology? Can we? And then how can we use this technology to solve the problem? And then how can we scale it? Right? So it's kind of a 4-step process. Because what I see time and time again is companies kind of rush in and they say, we need to do AI. And then they kind of back in, right? So they don't start with the idea that like, this is a technology that will be transformative or this is technology that will solve problems. They're just like, okay, we'll sign up for Copilot and then people can use it to record their meetings or whatever, which is
Yeah.
fine, I guess. But they're starting with the technology, not with the problem. So that's where I come in and I walk them through this framework and help them understand it's not just about tech, it's about fundamentally understanding how you can solve problems using technology. And that's something that I have a really deep background in.
Yeah. So I think maybe what's missing for me in what you just said there is like, how is that a problem for them that they're getting into the tech first before solving the problem? Like, where is that causing issues?
Because they're spending a lot of money and not getting a lot of return on investment. So, for
Right.
example, there's research out of MIT that 95% of corporate Gen AI projects are failing right now, right? That's a lot of money, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of resources for a company to lose, right? When I was working in virtual reality, a lot of it was about, again, problem solving, looking at what bad training was costing and how much better training, in this case in VR, could help. So I had projects with 92% performance improvement and 30% decrease in turnover. And all of that has real revenue attached to it. If you are not constantly having to deal with turnover, hiring new people, recruiting new people, training new people, etc., that will save your organization money. So it's not just a theoretical, oh, we should be doing better. There's actual costs associated with having projects that don't work or solve problems.
Okay, great. So if you were to put this, to sum this up into a sentence that would go along this framework, it would be, I help these people to solve or do this so that they can, what would that be for you? I help these people do this
I
so
help
that they can.
Yeah, sure. I help people use technology to solve problems so that they can save money and have greater employee satisfaction.
Yeah. Because I think there's potentially more power on that to really hit the pain points of like, I help companies stop losing money or
Yep.
stop wasting money on technology by giving them a framework that helps them put the problems or problems or people first, or something
Yeah.
more along those lines. Do you the straight away it's like, this is the problem you have. I'm
Yeah.
helping people who've got this problem so that they can get this outcome.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. I mean, and then I would narrow it from there because again, I don't want it to be super generic, right?
Sure.
And I think there's a lot of problems that I don't know how to solve, to be totally honest. But I think focusing it on using this technology, using this frontier technology to solve those problems is, I think, where the differentiator comes in, and that's pretty strong.
Yeah. I think the how somewhat
Mhm.
matters less than the what
Sure.
at this point. So it's like, at this point, they don't even really need to know that you've got a framework. They just need to know you're the person we go to if we've got this issue.
Right.
And so what will you do for us? We know we've got this problem. We don't want to have this problem. We would like to make the right technology work at the right time. So we need to be clear on that. And that doesn't mean you can't then say, oh, well, actually, there's a few other topics that I speak around as well, or workshops that I have that might still be valuable to you. But it is having that clarity for them of, all right, yeah, we don't want to lose money. We don't want to waste money. Or maybe we have been wasting money on certain technologies, just saying, all right, as you say, you have to get AI in right now because everyone else is doing it, but they don't know why they're doing it or how to implement it the right way. Is like the greater benefits from that. They don't need to know all of that right now. They just need to know, I've got a headache. You've got the
You got the aspirin.
the aspirin, exactly. So that sort of wears out. I think you get that clear. That's going to help your branding and your messaging a lot. And it doesn't mean that you can't still talk and workshop around those sort of areas in that category as well. It just means this is the main thing. This is the main area of it. And that's what people probably, at least initially, are most
Mhm.
going to seek you out for. You become
Sure.
known for that.
So I guess the follow on to that would be, so I have a lot of platforms, right? How do I use these platforms to the best of my ability, I guess? So I feel like I put a lot of content out into the universe. And I'm not sure whether it is the type of content that I'm putting out or the platforms that I am using or the messaging, but it doesn't seem to convert in a meaningful way. And what I've done, and perhaps I should not have done as much, is there are people who are, say, 2 steps ahead of me, right? Many of them I know, many of them I'm friendly with, and I kind of can look to what they're doing. And so I've used them as models, and I've done a lot of, like, comparisons and watched the way that they have done it and kind of tried to see that as a success. But I don't know what it is, but for some reason, I'm kind of looking at what they're doing, and I'm mimicking what they're doing just in terms of, like, my outreach strategy.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem to be converting in the same way.
Okay. So here's a question that's more about how you feel than anything else. But do you feel that even though you have launched, that you're still in launch phase, or do you feel that you are past that, or that you at least should be past that?
Oh, I'm permanently in launch.
Right.
I mean, here's the thing. I have always been of the mind that you do 10 things, and if none of those work, you do 10 more, and if none of those work, you do 10 more. And right now, I've done 10,000 things, but
So
I'm
this is
still sitting here
spaghetti
talking to
against
you.
the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have thrown I've thrown Italy's entire source of pasta against the wall, right?
Yeah.
And it has not. So I keep throwing pasta against the wall, and so I'm constant. Like last year, I wrote a book. It's come out. It came out in an academic publisher. It's gotten very good reviews. It has sold reasonably well for a book that is what it is. But that was not the thing, right? I have spoken at Davos. I've spoken at the World Economic Forum's events. I have spoken at Stanford Law School last year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All a lot of fun. Didn't get me to where I need to be, right? So
Yeah.
I'm constantly like, I got a speaker reel. I spent a lot of time on it. I spent, to be fair, a lot of money on it. I think it turned out well enough.
Yeah, I've watched it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but so that's
Yeah.
the thing. So I'm constantly in launch mode because the only thing that will get me out of launch mode is actually launching, which I get to do.
And so I'm sure you must be feeling very frustrated with all the things that you have been doing that just haven't really been panning out. There's so many directions we could go, but I think the one that would matter the most to you right now is having a reliable way to get more bookings.
Yeah.
What's your
100%.
main way of getting bookings right now?
A lot of it is incoming, which is nice, but it's also very random, right? I cannot guarantee the incoming. I have been pitching a lot. So I try to send like 10 pitches a day. I do strategic pitches. So it's not just kind of like, hey, book me to speak. What I will do is I will use one of my outlets, like my Forbes column. I will write a Forbes column specifically around a topic. And then I will, from there, pick the 10 people that are most interested in the topic. I'll send them the column. I'll send them an invitation to chat more. I'll kind of send them information about me. I have relationships at Fortune 100s. I have relationships at big consultancies. I've done work with a lot of them. So I'm using those networks. And then again, I do have other networks as well, my professional networks that I have used. But that, again, has not really converted.
Yeah. Okay. And I think one of the reasons why that might be the case, I'm not saying this definitively, but one of the reasons why it might be is that you might be overdoing it. You might be overthinking the strategy. So I'd like to share with you a much simpler strategy
Okay.
that
Not
if you
opposed.
tried this, if you have tried this, then please do just say to me you tried this. But it
Cool.
is generally effective, and it is one that I use and that the speakers that I work with generally use as well. That one thing is to start finding the places where you want to speak. Now, this could be that you go through, at least initially, the places where you have spoken and reach back out
Done that.
to get booked there. But
Done that. I've also, before you go too far, I'll just tell you what I also have done. So I've reached out to every place I've spoken in the past, multiple times. I have put together a list of, I think, 50 to 60 conferences and places that I wanted to speak. I've pitched all of them. I got nothing except for a bunch of spam. So conferences love to write back and say, hey, pay us to speak, which no, that's unethical. Buzz off. I won't say what I actually would want to say to them. So I've gotten a bunch of pay to play slop, which, yeah, not great. Or they just add me to their spam lists, which again, not great, right? Kind of unethical as well. So yeah, I have reached out to, and I've also reached out to the companies I want to speak at. So I have pitched most, if not all of them. The one place I have not tried is like professional organizations. But if you think that's worthwhile, happy to try that as well. But I just want to give you a sense of like what I have done.
No, I appreciate that. And I will say this about conferences. Conferences generally are only really going to pay speakers who are already established names. Everyone else, they might bring you in for a workshop or or a set. You can run a session for them, but they're generally not going to book you as a paid speaker at those events when what they want is a big name. So if you don't have that yet, then that's not the best avenue for most people to even try and get started with. Sometimes it can work, but a breakout or a workshop is possibly the best you'll do. And you might, in some cases, get a per diem. But as you've experienced, sometimes you'll also be asked to pay them to speak at their event because they think they're doing you the favor, getting you in front of other people who might book you. What generally works better is to approach individual companies, corporations, organizations who are always organizing their own speaking events, and initially just reach out with a question, one simple question, which is, if you don't already know, who is the person who books your speakers for your events.
So
Or
I've
if
done
you
that.
Cool. And if you know that, then you just ask the question, are you the person are you the person who books speakers for your events? Because all you're really looking for there is a response. And the reason why we keep it that simple is you're either going to get a response or you're not. But that
Okay.
is also then where people are going to go into your CRM to like, because no doesn't mean no. It means maybe not right now, or maybe you've been too busy, or maybe just your email got lost in the pile somewhere. It means you follow up a week, 2 weeks later. I'd probably give it a couple of weeks, and you keep following up with these places where you want to speak. But again, just the simple questions that are easy to respond to, because either they are the person you need to speak to or they're not the person you need to speak to. And if they reply saying they're not, you can just reply saying, okay, who is the person who I would need to speak to about this? Because your goal is to get on a call with them. Ultimately, to get
Right.
on a call with them, not to be sending them over all your information or articles or websites or anything like that at this stage, just to find out if they've got events and they're looking for speakers right now, you want to be in the pile and be considered. But this is then,
So I've
this
done
is the,
that.
cool.
I've done that I've done that for hundreds of companies, and I've gotten zero response. I've gotten like 1 or 2 responses, but
Okay.
I've done that exact question. And what I'll get back is mostly nothing or something to the effect of, I don't know. We're like, I reached out to somebody yesterday at a big consulting firm. And this was somebody who I have met, who I'm in a professional organization with. This wasn't just a rando ask, because rando asks never get anywhere for the most part. This is somebody who I have a line of connection into. And the response was, I don't know, we're a big company, but I'll let you know. And I was just like, okay. I was like, at that point, you might as well have just said nothing. I'm sorry. But like, yeah, I don't want to come across as negative, but like, kind of have done that. Maybe it's like the organizations I'm pitching are too big, or maybe there's like another type of organization I should be
It may
pitching. But
be that.
yeah,
Look, this is the reality of it is that at this stage in the game, with not being as known as you would like to be as a speaker at the moment,
right,
you're playing the numbers game,
sure,
and that really does mean reaching out to as many places as possible. And if you're not getting responses from one particular industry, what
yeah,
other industries could you be relevant to that you could start pitching to, and you can start finding those sorts of people with?
yeah,
And whether that's through connections or contacts you have, or from searching on Google or LinkedIn Sales Navigator or any other sort of tool, or even the buying list, although that's not always the most helpful way to go. But getting those prospects, ultimately you are playing the numbers game,
sure,
but
okay,
also you're not playing a one and done. It's like you not getting a response is also is like, this is where your CRM is going to become incredibly valuable to you, where you follow up a few weeks later, and then you follow up maybe a month after that if you don't hear
yeah,
back, and that you keep going there. At least your goal is just to get a response.
yeah, totally,
And if the response is I don't know, you my first thing is this: if somebody responds and that their phone number is in the email, I'm going to call them.
right,
And the reason I'm going to do that is because then I'm not just in the ether of the internet. Then I'm a voice. Then I'm a person. And so I'm going to go, oh, hey, look, I really appreciate you responding to me. How can I find out? How can I find out who the right person is for me to speak to? You've already massively increased the chances of them finding that person for you and getting back to you,
sure,
if
yeah,
you
that's
can
a good
actually
idea.
get on them, if you can actually get on the call with them. But consider that to be your main thing. It's always to get a response. If you are just finding that anything you're putting out is not getting responses, it might be that there is, like you said, there's a lot of competition in this space right now, that a lot of other speakers are targeting exactly the same places. And that
Right,
could be why someone's just saying, oh, it's not really worth me even replying to you. Well, you may have to then find another hunting niche to start to build up your speaking business, but they are out
yeah,
there, and they do work. So this is the most reliable strategy that you can ultimately get into. And I think it's going to be not just finding the company names, but doing that little bit of searching for, you probably want companies that fit into specific brackets, that have at least
hmm,
certain amount of, they're doing a certain amount of turnover, maybe have a certain amount of employees, that are more
Right.
likely to be having events, their own internal events, or maybe even bigger events where they might be looking at least for speakers, for breakouts, for workshops, or whether there's maybe stuff that you could offer them that would be valuable to them even outside of their events. Maybe there's consulting or workshops that you could do for them that you might say, oh, we don't need an event for that. We'll just bring you in to do that. That's where your abstracts, your speaker sheets are going to become most valuable, because that's where then it's going to say, right, if you can be then clear on, is this a problem that you have?
Yeah.
This is something that I work with people on, this is something I help people solve. They don't need to know how you do that right now. They just need to know, all right, yeah, we have that issue, or our company has that issue. We would value having someone like you come in and speak on it. So I think it is definitely a stick to that kind of strategy, but it's also going to make it a bit easier if you feel like if you're not trying to do all the things.
Right.
Because all the things won't get you the results. This is probably the thing that will get you the most results, at least at this stage.
Right. Okay.
Because then when you do go in as well, having the book, great. You can potentially increase some of your speaker fees with that by offering them the book. When they do look to book you, it's like, maybe you ask them what else is going on, or say, would you be interested in having my book for the people in the event? You then increased your speaker fee by selling them the books as well, because they usually have different budgets for those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So these are all really important things to think about, but ultimately is finding the right way into the industry that is solving enough of a pain point that they're going to book you, but also enough responsiveness from the industry that you're getting the kinds of bookings that you want, because then it is just playing that numbers game and spending pretty much whatever time you can spend each day on your prospecting, whether that's new prospects or following up with people you've already reached out to before,
Right.
connecting with referrals that you've had before, connecting with whoever else in the industry you already have. That's going to get you far more results than pretty much anything else that you're doing when it comes to getting booked for speaking gigs.
Okay. So that's good. So I feel like what I'm kind of hearing is I should deprioritize a lot of the other stuff that I'm doing and focus on just kind of the sales stuff.
Yeah, I would say you could afford to simplify. It's going to make your life a lot easier. And it's
Sure.
also going to lessen that feeling of frustration that you're doing so much and you're not really seeing the results from it. If you're doing more one focused thing, which is like what we'd call a power hour, where you're focused on your prospecting and managing your CRM, keep making sure you're checked in with the people that you have previously either spoken at or mostly spoken at, or people you connected with.
Yeah.
Keeping on top of all of that and managing all of that is going to be a much more effective long-term strategy. And it means that as well, doesn't mean you don't do any of the other things. You do them if you want to, but
Right.
when you're a bit more known, or when you're getting like the speaking events that you want to be getting, or getting the kind of buzz and reputation in the industry, things will start to take on a bit more of a life of their own at the moment. But right now, it's in this stage of the business, it is playing that numbers game.
Yeah. So sort of a follow-on question to that. Do names matter? Because I always had this notion, and I could be very wrong, that sort of these big prestige brands were of interest to people, would move the needle, people would care about them. I have found that is not the case, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
It looks nice on your website, and it does help to establish your trust and credibility. But here's the thing: people don't really care about that. They don't care about. They don't really care about what awards you have. They don't even really, to a great degree, care about your experience or any of the prestige things that you may have available to you. What they care about is, can you help us solve this problem?
Sure.
All the other stuff then just helps to deepen the trust and credibility once they see that, all right, you at least say you can help us, or you're a person who seems like you can help us with a problem that we have. And it's like, all right, do we trust this person to bring them in? All right, they've worked with these
Right.
people, great. But they're not making the decision based on that. They're just reinforcing their trust with you through those things. So initially, none of that stuff matters. You might have none of that, but you actually go out and solve the problem for them, and they're gonna bring you in.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting though, you keep coming back to this issue of problem solving, because again, I look at the people that I are sort of 2 steps ahead of me, and I mean, again, maybe they're just doing it in a different way, but I don't really see them saying that they solve problems. They have sort of a big idea that they talk about, or a brand or a catchphrase, but it's not framed as like a problem solution. So I'm just wondering if I'm being a little too like stuck on this idea of problem solution when in fact that's not it, or like what would you kind of say to that?
It does kind of depend on who you're looking at. And
Right.
again, you may not necessarily know what they've done to get their speaking business to where it's at
Sure.
right now, because you're seeing what they're doing when they're at the level they're at right now. So
Sure.
unless you know the path that they've taken to get there, people generally have to become known for one thing. But let's say you were to look at, I'm trying to think of a well-known speaker, someone like Brené Brown. She's pretty well known now,
Yes.
and she's become known for the. And if you ask anyone what does Brené Brown talk about, people are probably going to say vulnerability as the thing she
Sure.
became most well known for straight away. But that's not the only thing that she talks about. It's just what she became known for.
Got it.
And she became known by addressing that. But also, I think some of it was a bit of luck with her being in the right platform at the right time and talking about a topic that really connected with people.
Yeah.
Most speakers are not going to launch in that kind of way. Now, definitely, there are speakers who will launch from a great idea or a book, but
Yeah.
most speakers are going to launch by solving a problem. Whether that is we need our team to be more motivated. We bring in a motivational speaker who's going to solve that problem. It's like that's still problem solving. Or we need our team. We need a bit of lightness here. We're going to bring in an entertaining speaker who maybe has some good information and
Sure.
content as well. That it's still solving a problem for people. But if you as a speaker can really address somewhere that people have pain, you take away the issue of, all right, it would be nice to book Courtney for our talk, but we don't really need her. Whereas if they
Right.
say, oh right, well, we actually really need this problem solving, we should
Yeah.
book her.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to look at it. I mean, I should have sent you the profiles of the folks that I am thinking of beforehand, because I think that could have been useful. But well, we'll have that for next time, right? Because I think that that's where and look, some of it is just accidents of timing. If there's some hot topic and you are the person for that hot topic, then that's gonna sort of compound. And so
But
that's what I'm kind of trying to do with the repositioning towards
yeah,
smart glasses and spatial computing,
no, I
is
get you.
kind of a wider field than
I
AI.
get I get
Around
where
it.
you're at and what you're trying to do there, and I don't think you're wrong. I just don't think it's going to connect in the way that you're hoping it will.
Sure.
What will make the bigger difference is going to be doing the reliable stuff of getting speaking gigs right now. That's going to get you to a level of having sufficient business coming in to be doing the kind of numbers that you want as a speaker. Because once you're doing that regularly, and even then, it's like there's still going to be things you need to check in on, like, are you getting good feedback on these things? Are the talks really connecting with people? Is
Oh,
there a
sure.
buzz? Is there a buzz after you've been on the stage? And like if you, we talked about networking before we recorded today, but you ideally want to be networking with your audiences if you can before
Yep.
you speak,
Yeah.
but definitely afterwards,
Yeah.
because
Referable speaker.
you want to know what they're going to say, but not just for the referrals, really for the feedback at this stage. You actually actively want to be getting feedback from them or hearing from them what connected with them. What are they still
Yeah.
talking about from your presentation?
Yeah.
If they're not, then there's some stuff that needs to be addressed there as well. So the
Yeah.
journey is one of development along this way. It's not like this is going to fix and solve everything. This is like, all right, this is solve one initial problem of getting you on the stages. But then when you're getting on the stages, you want to make sure that everything is running as smoothly and as well as possible so that you are getting the referrals, the
Right.
rebookings, the additional workshops or consultation, if that's what you're looking for. And that starts to become more reliable for you.
Okay. And in terms of, I mean, Instagram I have as well, but Instagram is a little bit more informal. LinkedIn is probably my biggest platform.
Yeah.
So right now, my LinkedIn strategy is I have this little checklist that I do every day. It's sitting next to me here. And I add 10 new connections every day, and I have lists of people that I pull from to do that. I comment on at least 5 posts a day, and I'm always commenting stuff that has some depth. I'm not just saying like, good idea. And I post minimum 3 times a week. And it's a mix of video content and articles and longer and shorter and promoting where I'm speaking and all of that stuff, right? And I also do the thing where I recycle content. So I'm not going to Davos this year, but I spoke at Davos in the past. So next week is going to be like talking about Davos, right? And so, because that's very timely and that's what people are searching for. So I guess anything else you can share with me on LinkedIn strategy, and then
Sure.
also how to grow an audience. Because right now I have like 10,000 followers, which is fine. And certainly there are people that are doing well as speakers that have fewer than that. But
Sure.
I think that how do I, if I should be focusing on that, how would I grow that audience?
I would say it's probably not top priority. It's a nice to
Okay.
have, not a need to have. It
Sure.
will give you additional credibility, but it is something in the meantime that is going to cost you, even if it's just time and energy, it's
Sure.
costing you. So if you want to do it, I do a LinkedIn newsletter. I do it every other week. But if it wasn't getting, if I didn't enjoy doing it, and it wasn't getting me some results and having some effect, I wouldn't keep doing it. You have to track. Is it worth your time? Are you seeing the results from this? Can you see development? This is why you really need to track this and see if it's worth it for you. How
Yeah.
valuable is having that 10,000 followers going to be for you if you're not still getting the speaking gigs in the
Right.
meantime? It's like fix the thing that most needs fixing,
Yeah.
and then you can tinker with all the other bits around that. Because I'm not a LinkedIn expert, but I do have an episode with a LinkedIn expert coming out pretty soon,
Oh, great.
and it'll be definitely one for you to check out, and I'll make sure
Mhm.
you get the link for that.
Yep.
But we did talk about this stuff and what really works on LinkedIn, what doesn't work on LinkedIn. We had a really great chat, and she is a proper expert, so that will be very valuable for you. But I would say at this stage, what's more valuable for you is just really the thing we talked about in the newsletter where we first connected, of refocusing yourself on this is a business, and it's a sales business more than anything else. You have to focus on selling your product and get that happening. And
Yeah.
once that's happening consistently for you, once you tinkered with the dials bits there, then you have more mental capacity to be able to start looking at the other dials and levers that you can work on to turn those results up. But certainly there are people who have built their speaking careers on social media strategies. And if that's the way you want to go, then by all means. But again, that's like, you may find similar position of you're waiting for the work to come to you rather
Yep.
than getting yourself out there and making it happen. I think it's a slower path, and it's a less reliable path as well,
Yeah.
because you may or may not hit those goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for me, I work a lot and I'm happy to put in the work. I think my frustration comes from putting in the work and not seeing a result. Right. And so that's where I feel like I'm getting frustrated, is I'm doing a lot of stuff, but it seems like I just need to kind of shift the focus to the prospecting and sales.
Would let me ask you this then. I mean, and this is really, we'll start to close things off now. But if you really just needed to spend 1 hour a day doing your prospecting for your speaking, like finding the places to reach out to, finding someone to send an email to saying, do you book your speakers, or do you know who does?
Yeah.
And start doing that regularly, or reaching out to the other contacts as well that you have from your CRM. If that was just 1 hour a day, would that be much simpler, much less of a burden on you and your time and energy and money than all the things you're doing right now?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I do enjoy a lot of the writing that I do. I do
Sure.
enjoy a lot of.
So keep doing that. Do the stuff you enjoy, because
Yeah.
that's not work, right? That's not going to feel like a burden to you. But
Yeah.
if you start getting focused on getting the results from that, or that you should be seeing a certain amount of following or whatever else, that
Right.
I would say maybe let go of that for now.
Yeah.
And build that stuff. Keep doing it because you enjoy it and you maybe want to have some presence and things like that. Great.
Yeah.
But if you're not really enjoying it, or you're just doing it in the hope that it might get you these results,
Yeah.
I think hope is the worst strategy for business.
Yes.
Because it's
So-
like, well, you might get them, you might not. But the
Right.
system, the process we talked about today, whilst it's not always going to get you a result every single time you reach
Sure.
out, it's far more reliable than everything else we've talked about.
Sure. No, that's great. And I mean, that is something that I need to just starting tomorrow, just focus on, block an hour a day and just go through the list and revisit the list and just kind of build out the Salesforce, HubSpot, name your platform, and just really kind of get that. And in sales is hard, right? And so I think
It
I just
is.
need to kind of commit to that and see
Yeah.
where that goes.
So I'll leave this conversation with this then. Sales isn't really sales. So sales is relationships. Sales
Yeah.
is about connecting with people. So think about it in those terms, because that's all you're looking to do is connect and have conversations with real people who need speakers, who need people who can come and talk to them about the problems that you can help them to solve. So it's a two-way street. You're helping them, they're going to help you. And that is very reciprocal, and it's a win for you, it's a win for them, and it's a win for the audiences that the bookers will put you in front of as well.
No, absolutely. That's a great way to think about it.
Cortney, we will stay connected. We'll keep in touch on your progress and everything like that as well. But I hope this has been a valuable session for you today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
If this episode helped you think more clearly about positioning and bookings, please do me a favor and rate the show on Spotify if you can. It only takes a few seconds. All you need to do is make sure you're following the show and give us a 5-star rating. It genuinely helps more professional speakers to find the show. And if you want to be coached on the show for free, well, you can apply. We'll pick sessions that are useful for the audience and practical enough that listeners can steal the strategy without feeling like they need a second mortgage or a personality transplant. And you can find the link to do that in the show notes for this episode. Finally, if you want a quick diagnostic on what's blocking your bookings, take my strategic speaker business audit and it will show you the most likely reason that you're not being chosen and what to look at fixing first. Right, go be brilliant, or at least be booked. Same thing in the real world. Wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, have an amazing rest of your day. See you next time.